Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Denver, Colorado. I'm so glad you could join me this afternoon. Today I have a card using the pressed Petals flower paper, and it's just a note card, so you could really make it anything you wanted. You could make it happy birthday or congratulations or thinking of you. It's a real easy card to add some different. In fact, on this one I don't have any greeting, but on the one we're going to make together today I am putting a little note on it. So let's just get started. Okay, here is my card, and I am using some dies from the Magnolia Suite. I think it's called Magnolia Memories dies, and I'll show you which one I'm using. And I'm using, I ended up using on the one that we're going to make today, a little note from the Butterfly Gala stamp set. And this is the outside, and then this is the inside. And I just use the negative cuts to these cuts to make our decoration for the inside. And I used the Layering Leaves embossing folder, the one that has all of these pretty leaves on it, and I did that in Very Vanilla. So let me show you what you need to have to make this card. I used Mossy Meadow Card Base that is 8.5 by 5.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. Then I used a piece of Very Vanilla 4 by 5 1/4. Actually, you need two of them, 4 by 5 1/4, one for the inside and one for the outside. Then you need a pretty good sized piece of scrap, about a 1/4 page would be my guess, of the Mossy Meadow to cut this piece, the oval, and the piece on the inside. And then you need some of this beautiful pressed Petals paper, and you can see I used just a tiny bit of it on the edge here, and again a tiny bit on the inside. But I just love the way this one came out. I think I might make this piece on this end, the green a little shorter, the flowers a little bit longer, move the whole thing out a little bit, fill up the card a little bit more. We'll see how it works. So what I have done is I stamped my Very Vanilla piece. This is the wrong piece. A little note right up here using my Mossy Meadow ink, and then I ran that through the embossing folder, and this is what you get. I tried on this one to put any number of labels that said a little note backing it, and I didn't like any of them. So I decided that we would try stamping it directly on the card and then embossing it. So that's what I've done. Let's just go ahead and get going on this. And I wanted to show you how I cut this piece. Let's see if I can put this back together again. I think it's this piece that I cut from here. Yes, it is. And so I put this piece across here to go across and cut that piece there. So this piece has the piece that pokes out that's here, can be on this side of the card, and we can make it as big or as small as we would like. And I'm going to make it a little bit larger, I think. And then here is a green one that I've cut, and I used a piece that was originally, let's see, about 2.5 inches by 4, And that way I could get the piece that's going to go here. And I'm thinking a little slimmer green border on this one would be good. This border's awfully big, and I like this one maybe a little bit smaller. And then this border is going to go on this piece here for the inside, and again, a pretty slim little border. So that's what we need to do, and I'll need to trim this down once I get it on here the way I'd like. And I have to decide. Oh, and then I cut a couple of different things here. I used the Mossy Meadow to cut out my larger oval. And this is the one that measures, let's see, about 2 3/4. And then this one measures a little bit more than 2 1/2. And those are the two I used. And I punched one flower out of, like this one, the cluster of flowers. But you know what? It looks almost a little crowded. So I tried cutting it out of like this, where there's just 2 little flowers, and it looks actually way more balanced to do that. So you can use a piece like this to get the inside and the outside of the card, and places on the pattern paper that has this 2 flower for your oval. I like this one a lot better. So the first thing I'm going to do is put this piece is flat on my card. So I think maybe the way to get started is to go ahead and put this one down. And this one has lots of embossing, so I'll be using quite a bit of tape here because I don't want that coming loose later. Let me get all of my edges there. And my little note up here in the corner, and just getting this centered on the front of the page. There we go. All right. Now these two can be put together. I don't like operating without my silicone mat, even though there's not much of a chance I'm going to get on the outside of this one. I just feel better. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down on my green piece. Make sure that's the right side. It is. It's not very straight. Let's see if I can get that picked up a little bit. Ovals are hard to center, I've decided. There, that's a little bit better. Okay, so on this oval, I am giving it a couple of dimensionals on the back, just 2. And so I can get that put in place on my card front, and then measure how far out I want that other piece to go. So if I center this underneath the little note and put that into place, then the only decision I have is how far in I want this assembly here. I know I don't want it that big. So I'm thinking I'm going to take like 3/8 of an inch off of this end. So 3/8 of an inch. And that might just be perfect. let's see, if 3/8 of an inch is going to come out, I think that's going to be just perfect because this green border is going to come out a little bit more. So this one ends up being, and this is all trimmed to fit, this ends up being just a little under 1 1/4. So this one needs to also be just under 1 1/4. Hard to get this just right, so I'd rather cut off a little bit and trim down more than make a mistake and trim off too much. But let's see, if I put this on here, and I have, when this die cuts, as you can see here, it leaves a little embossing piece here. Maybe what I'll do is put this right along that embossing piece, and that way I'm sure I've got exactly the similar border all the way along the edge. I think that's what I'll do. So I'm going to, and I'm going to use my dot runner here just in case I have to make some adjustments. This one is a little more forgiving if you have to remove it right at the beginning. It eventually sticks down pretty good, but at the beginning, if you have to move it, you can. So I'm going to set that down so that it's right along that embossed border on the green. There we go. And then I need this piece to be 4 inches. Let's see how long it is now. It is about 4 1/2. So I think if I cut a 1/4 inch off of both sides, I should be just fine. I've got this off the track. There, 1/4 of an inch on that side, and I'll just bring it down here and take a 1/4 of an inch, and let's see how close it comes. Look at that. I'm impressed. Okay, so this piece is ready to go on this edge right here. And it might be a little bit overlapped, but it's going onto the green, and so that's fine. I'd rather have it a tiny bit longer than too short. So that's what we're going to do. Now, again, because this is going down over embossing, I'm going to add quite a bit of snail on this. Get right up to those edges and get this put down on my card. Making sure I'm covering so none of the very vanilla shows top, bottom, or on the side. And there we go. Isn't that pretty? I love the simplicity of this card. It's just really easy, and there's something nice. Sometimes somebody said it the other day, less is more. And so let's see, we've got to find our piece again that is the negative side. Here's the green negative side. Let me see what I did with the other negative side. There it is. Okay, so on this one, we want, again, a pretty slim border. Let me just take a measurement here. From the peak, it's not even an inch. It's about 7/8 of an inch. So if I cut this, if that's 7/8 of an inch, then this, if that is 7/8, then this should be, looks to be 3/4 of an inch from the peaks. So if I set this up to be 3/4 of an inch, and what I'm doing is allowing these peaks to come to this 3/4 of an inch line here, and then I'm going to just slice that down. And I know it looks very thin, but then we're going to, oh, I might as well cut this one while I'm at it. So this one I figured was 7/8 of an inch. So I'm going to set that at 7/8. As long as you've got a flat piece on that end, you should be 7/8 all the way up and down. And this is the acid test. We'll find out now. And there we go. It looks like this little piece is just a tiny bit long. So again, well, you know what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and stick this piece down on my green and match the peaks and get it back about 1/4 of an inch. So that it's on there right, and then we'll just trim off the edges this way. That way I know I've got a perfect fit. I have fussed with this card and fussed with it and fussed with it until I got it the way I liked it. For being so simple, it ended up being just a little bit challenging. Okay, so that is a little bit long, but I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and stick this down, and we'll trim away what we don't need. And I'm going to set this so that it's right along this edge with about the same amount hanging off on either side. And snugging that right up to the edge, and then we'll just cut this off on both sides, and we'll have that perfect fit. There we go. Now this piece is ready to go on the inside, and I think this turned out just so pretty. I love these colors. This Mossy Meadow with this blueberry bushel is just stunning together. Okay, so there we have our card basically done. And I was thinking as I got ready to do the video that I really didn't have any bling on this card. So I was thinking about these holiday rhinestone basic gems, and it's got this beautiful blue. So I thought maybe I could take this blue rhinestone and just add a little bit of sparkle to these, to the card. And one more. Right down there. And then where you end up putting it on the card kind of depends on the design. For instance, this one probably could use it better down here because this is more full up on this side. Then putting it down at various places on the card. And the eye likes uneven numbers, so it's either 3 or 5, and I think in this case it's going to be 5. Let's see. It should be right along in here. And there we go. There is the project for today. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator. Or you could join my team. Joining Stampin' Up! Is always a good deal. $125 worth of product for $99. And your minimums, if you joined now, let's see, this is April, May, June, July, August, September, October. Yeah, you wouldn't have to have your first minimum until October. And the minimum is $300 for the quarter. And that's before your discount of 20%. So most of us spend quite a bit on crafting supplies anyway. But if you could do it to get the discount and have access and first run at all of the beautiful papers and dies and things that Stampin' Up! Comes up with, I think it's a terrific deal. I'm so glad I joined when I did. Anyway, that is my project for the day. I do think I like it better with the little note on it. I could put a blueberry bushel bow or something to make up for the fact that there's nothing there. And I may continue to find the right sentiment to put on there, or the right way to put the sentiment on. But that's it for me today. Again, thanks for stopping by, and I'll be back soon with more cards, more projects, and more tips. Bye.